Prognosis was pretty bad. They were saying that I could probably die within a couple of years. Mine is one of the most aggressive forms of non-Hodgkin lymphoma that they pretty much ever seen. So a company like that has money. They can fight a long time. Like I said, this fight might go past my life.
The DDT was safe, and now they're in charge of telling us if their own genetically modified foods are safe.
The reason why we have 170 million acres of genetically engineered corn and soybeans and cotton and canola oil and sugar beets in the United States is because it doesn't have to be labeled.
The first genetically modified animal, a salmon, may soon be approved for human consumption.
Both these fish are 18 months old, but the larger genetically engineered Aqua Advantage salmon grows twice as fast as the regular salmon.
There has not been sufficient animal health testing, human health testing, or environmental impact testing of these new transgenic fish.
Basically, they've taken agriculture and built an industrial model which doesn't fit nature. So instead of changing their agricultural model to accommodate what is natural, they're changing nature to accommodate the industrial model. If you have an organic corn crop that sits next to a genetically engineered corn field, and it happens to tassel at the same time, and it happens to be downwind, you're going to get your crop contaminated.
The rest of the food supply is contaminated. Then the genie's out of the bottle, and it's maybe physically impossible to turn the situation around.
Bees are dying. Monsanto's is the cause of all this artificial, synthetic, inorganic technology. This shows you that the Caucasian is the antichrist. He's going against God. This is what Israel, the word Israel means, going against God, against God's technology. The bees are God's technology.
The University of Islam, Los Angeles. I was the minister of this mosque in Los Angeles, where we had a University of Islam. You see our children. We had our own school. We had approximately 500 boys and girls going to this school. This is what the dress like, the motor dress. Under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he teaches us that we must prepare our children at a young and early age because they are the future rulers of the earth. And being the future rulers of the earth, we are taught that they must prepare themselves. You see our young men, the way they dress, the way they look like young businessmen. Everybody got their briefcase. They're taking care of business. The lost song. This is one of our farms in Mexico. This is some of the land that we acquired under the leadership and guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You see the used silos there, food bins for the cattle. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was given a special ingredients to go in the food by Almighty God Allah, that the cattle were the most fertile cattle in the world. This is inside of one of the storehouses for the equipment to be used.
Greetings. You're the Black Light. What you have just seen was one of the farms that the Nation of Islam had up in Michigan. Here in Michigan. I'm in Detroit. We're going back in the day when the Nation of Islam had grocery stores. They had farms, and their chickens didn't never touch the ground. They kept the chickens clean. All their stores were so clean you could eat up off the floor. This is how we were separating ourselves from the devil and serving our people the best, clean, holistic type food. No chemicals on them. Everything was natural, organic. In the guidance of the teachings of Master Farad Muhammad, Allah in person, and given to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We had plenty farms back then, and just, you know, thinking back in the day when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was alive, he was taking care of his people, and can't nobody go against that unless they working for the enemy. And a lot of brothers, a lot of black so-called brothers and sisters are working for the enemy, and they are against the teachings and the works of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it hit hard now, and everything is watered down after the death of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. There, I don't know if there's any farms. And if there are some farms, they're not in no supermarket. The produce are not in supermarkets. Or do they have a supermarket? And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had on the planning table a black hospital, black-owned, operated hospital to keep our people in the best of health. But the enemy is trying to turn you young ones and even you old ones against that. He's doing a pretty good job, but from what I see, because the brothers is teaching. There's a lot of brothers teaching in the way of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but they're not building no farms. They're not building nothing to counter this Monsanto's that you could tell that the government has approved. That brother up in the beginning of the of this video won a multi-million-dollar, almost, I think he said it was $250 million in his suit against Monsanto's, but the judge held up the first one. You know, held up his first one, overturned that and gave him a lesser amount. And he still has not received to this day any money. So he said, you know, it might outlast him. So this is what you see the Caucasian is doing with the reparations. You're going to find, you got to take it to the courts. You got to take it in front of them. And none of them is in favor when it comes to reparations, when it comes to any justice given to the black man. They're going to find a loophole to get out of it. So while we debating each other, if you see brothers, black people eating seedless grapes, seedless watermelons, you can't tell on the corn. The corn could be modified or genetically engineered. You can't tell on the fish, you know, except if it's big or not. And the messenger said don't eat any fish over 5 pounds anyway. The messenger predicted all of this, what's going on, so he prepared his followers for this day that's coming up. Now, back in the day when I was coming up in the D313, even though a lot of brothers in the hood didn't go to the temple, to the mosque, or to the temple rather, we didn't believe in that word mosque back then, or go to the FOI. They believed in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Especially that was the time when Muhammad Ali broke out, first known as Cassius Clay, and then later on known as Muhammad Ali. And he was a good representative of the teachings, and a lot of brothers had knowledge. So over there on Finkel, where I grew up, we were actually fighting Caucasians. It was one school called Post Junior High. A black couple moved in across the street from Post. It was in an all-white neighborhood, and they burnt the cross. I ran into the guy that burnt that cross when I was in the lunchroom. And we're going to get into that. It's something that y'all need to know, and I need to tell it. It's Black Light. Stay tuned. Welcome to the God Zone.